right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. My name is Mayor Cal Sheehy, and I'm joined by City Manager Jess Knudsen.
Good morning.
Can everyone hear me all right? No? Let's bring the chairs in a little bit closer then, and I'll try to project as much as I can. Welcome. Today we're here at the Aquatic Center on our monthly Coffee with the Mayor and City Manager. Our host is Mike Keene, our Parks Director, so if you want to give a welcome to the area. We're going to stand close to him so he has mic control for the people watching at home. So,
yeah, we just like to get real close.
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Aquatic and Community Center. The facility you're at today was built in 1994, so it is 25 years old. We'll be celebrating her birthday here later on in the year. So welcome. In the Aquatic Center area, there are 3 pools. For those of you that haven't been here, there's the main tank, a warm water tank, as well as a hot tub. In there we offer all kinds of exercise classes, lap swim, open swim, swim lessons, lifeguard training. We do some training for the dive teams as well for the county. The main portion of the building, the community center, is a multi-purpose gymnasium. It's about 10,000 square feet. Last night we had a Brooks and Dunn tribute concert. There will be pickleball in there later. There's basketball clinics in there. So we run just about everything through this facility, as well as many small rooms for meetings. Anything you can think of, we're here for you. So welcome, enjoy your time with the mayor and city manager. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. And then after this all wraps up, if anybody would like a tour, we will have a couple of the staff members available to give you a tour of the facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike, for hosting us. I want to introduce a couple of our council members. We have Councilmember Jim Dolan in the back that's joining us this morning. Welcome, Jim. Councilmember Donna McCoy could not be here today, but she is in New York City. And if, excuse me, if anyone watched Fox and Friends yesterday morning, she was holding a Lake Havasu City banner, and she made her way to television. So she was not only able to mention Lake Havasu City, she was also able to mention that we're the home of the London Bridge. And then afterwards, when they went back in studio, they talked for a few seconds about Lake Havasu City and the home of the London Bridge. So she's out working hard for us in New York City with her husband. So we'll get right into it with roads. I'm sure that's on the top of many people's minds. So we'll just address that immediately. As you know, Lake Havasu Avenue is currently being renovated at this point. This is from Mesquite to Swanson. We are on track. And we are working. It might not look like it, but they are working. There's a lot of folks that are working overnight for this project, and we will have the project done by right before Memorial Day weekend. So it's actually a really good thing that we're still on track, especially with all of the weather that we've had over this past course of the winter. What we're doing is we're actually replacing all of the infrastructure underneath the roadway as well. So all of the sewer infrastructure that's over 50 years old, all of the utilities that is over 50 years old, and then of course the roadway that will be accompanied with a median to protect drivers in that area. What started as a project for asphalt preservation, the asphalt needed to be replaced, and the medians were an addition for a safety feature. We've had over 85 reported accidents in that area. And so it's hard to believe that we would have that many, but anyone that's ever driven that road knows that there are people turning left and right and up and down. And so this area will still allow access to all of the businesses in the area, but it'll do it in a safe way for our citizens to be able to traverse that area. So we have that roadway project that's happening right now. In mid-April, actually after a Desert Storm, we will start a project on Swanson Avenue, and that's Swanson Avenue from a little above Smoke Tree up to Acoma. So kind of like the Scott Drive area, we'll start and then go up to Acoma. This area is also an area for asphalt preservation, where the asphalt is failing and we need to replace it. Fortunately, we were able to get a grant from the federal government to do that, and so the outlay from city government is very minimal. But this will be a new type of a roadway in Lake Havasu City, where it will feature a bike lane on one area and a multi-use path on the other area, on the other side of the street. But what that's going to do is it's going to get rid of the left-hand turn lane. So the left-hand turn lane, you're not going to have a restricted left, so you still will be able to turn left or right into all of the businesses and driveways along that area, but it will not have a dedicated left-hand turn lane. So the idea is to make that area easier for pedestrians and bicycle traffic along with motor vehicles. The design came from the RUDAT study that was conducted in the 2007 timeframe, and then the Paris study, which was done in like the 2012. So this is actually citizen-led. It'll be the first example of how that roadway can look so that we can connect our trails and biking areas to other networks within the community, which makes no sense right now because there are no other networks at this point, but this is the very beginning of what that might look like. So that project will last how long, Jess?
That's a project that's going to last about 4 months, and we'll be starting here right after Desert Storm. So that'll be starting at the end of the month, right around the 1st of May.
And then the other exciting roadway project that we all love is because of the weather, it's chip seal season. Which is where we go through and lay a bunch of pebbles on the road, and then we wonder what in the world are we doing, and it's ruining our cars. I was one of the folks that were completely against chip seal until I learned the cost difference between running asphalt and other treatments versus chip seal. We can get a whole lot more done with chip seal, and it protects our roads for the long term. But that is weather dependent, and so it will be starting when?
The chip seal will be starting right around end of April, beginning of May. So in the next about 3 weeks or so, 3-4 weeks, we'll see some of the chip seal application taking place. It's about we're going to end up doing about 7% of our streets this year with the money that we have in our budget. We like to do a little closer to 10%. So then every 10 years we're touching every road in Lake Havasu City, but we're able to accomplish about 7% this year. We get that for about $1.84 a square yard, as the mayor alluded to. The cost is a big determination there. This year we're also going to be doing a couple miles of micro seal, which is a different type of product that's a little less obtrusive or a little less inconvenient as far as the application, with as opposed to the tar going down and the rocks going down and all the headaches that are associated with that. So we're going to try a few different things this year, and that's a little more expensive and takes a little bit more maintenance, but we're going to try a few different things to experiment to see what we can do with the dollars that we have afforded to us. But that's something I'll start here in about 3 weeks or so, and we'll have some updates on the website, some press releases that go out, so you'll have an understanding of what streets are affected in your area.
Yeah, we also have scheduled to have sweepers come in twice. So that way we're trying to minimize the impact to our citizens as much as possible with still keeping an eye on the costs. So they'll sweep over it two times, which will help pick up some of those loose pebbles at the end. So we've hopefully mitigated some of the concerns we've had over the previous years on that. But that'll all be happening at once, and one of it's weather dependent, some of it's contract dependent, and some of it's because of the federal grant. So it would not have been ideal for us to be doing all this at one time, but it is happening that way. And so we appreciate everyone's patience as they're on the roadways, and soon we'll be enjoying really nice road areas in these areas that are being improved. Next, Jess and I were able to meet with Senator McSally last Saturday. She was in Kingman, and she had requested a meeting with the 3 mayors of the large incorporated cities of Mojave County. And her intent was to come and listen to the concerns of our area and how her office could assist us with those type of concerns. From Lake Havasu City's perspective, we took it as an opportunity to build a relationship. We are surrounded by wildlife refuges, federal lands, and of course the Colorado River. And so we wanted to be able to build a relationship so we were able to get access when we needed it. So we didn't have any immediate asks or needs today, but we do want to make sure that we have somebody in DC in the Senate when we're ready for that or might need that. So it was a very good meeting. She is very connected to the needs of Mojave County. She's very connected to what it is we're doing here. I asked her what the best way to get a hold of her was and what avenue it was, and believe it or not, she gave us her cell phone number. And so, but we're not allowed to use it unless we really need to use it, is what she said. But she did give it to us nonetheless. So we're able to connect. And so if we do have a need that's on a federal level, we'll be able to reach out to her. But she was very gracious and very kind to us. It was a small, quaint meeting, so we really were able to have a very meaningful conversation about what's important to all of us here in Lake Havasu City. And my colleagues, Mayor Tom Brady from Bullhead City and Mayor Jen Miles from Kingman, were able to share some of their issues as well. So it was a very positive meeting, and we were happy to be able to host Senator McSally here in Mojave County. Another issue at the federal level is Congressman Gosar, who is a great friend to Lake Havasu City, one of the most hardworking congressmen in the U.S. Congress, and also the most accessible. He always reaches out to constituents. He's always available, and if he's not personally available, his staff is always available to us. But he actually read into the congressional record about the Lake Havasu City Veterans Treatment Court and the importance of that court to our community, and how it's a gold standard that should be followed by communities across the country. So we're really proud of all of our team members over at the court system, and for all the good work that they're doing with the Veterans Treatment Court. So that was good to be recognized, and great accolades for our staff over there. On Tuesday, we hosted the Community Resource Coalition, is what we're calling it. It was our very first meeting. And what we did is we brought together all nonprofit, faith-based, and community service organizations at one time in one room, so we could have a conversation about those areas. When it comes to social services, Lake Havasu City had interagency for several years that provided a variety of social services for our most vulnerable citizens, all the way from birth to our seniors and everything in between. And we still have a lot of those services, most all of those services actually, but we don't always know how to access them or how to get a hold of them. And so we wanted to bring everybody together to the table so we could have an understanding of all of the things that are available, all of the things people are doing, seeing if there was any duplication of efforts, and if so, how do we better resource or allocate those resources out. And then if there are any gaps in services that are holding back any of our citizens, and how we might be able to address that. From the city's perspective, we want to be the folks that can start the conversation and allow relationships to be built by those organizations that are doing the work. And the city will continue to put together a resource guide that citizens can use into the future, that will guide them in a direction if they need any services or have an ability to volunteer or a passion, because a lot of these are passion-driven organizations. And how do we connect? And how do we connect these different communities and populations to continue to do the good work for all of the citizens of Lake Havasu City? We had over about 100 people, would you say? Yeah, about 100 people attended this meeting. And it was the first time we've had all of these groups at once, and it was very positive to start those relationships and be able to plant the seeds. And then we'll have a follow-up meeting in August. And at that time, we're going to do a lot of background information in the meantime of putting what these organizations do from their words onto paper, and be able to find a way to communicate that out to the community and those folks that need that. So I appreciate all of the organizations that participated, and if there are any organizations that feel that they should have been at that table and weren't at that table, you're invited. Just let us know and we'll get you on the list and make sure you know about it. So I think that was a real nice win for Lake Havasu City. The newspaper on Wednesday talked a little bit about that. What the newspaper focused on was affordable housing, which is a concern in Lake Havasu City. It's a concern in Mojave County. It's a concern in Arizona. It's a concern in the nation. And so we need to work on some of those things. But that was one topic of 85 other conversations that were near and dear to all of these different organizations, and what their work is, their ministry is, or their mission is. So I think it was very positive. I've heard good feedback and
heard excellent feedback on that too, Mayor. I mean, it was just impressive. We sit in that room with all the different churches, the civic organizations, the nonprofits, all that provide some type of service to those that are in need in Havasu. And it took us about 45 minutes. The mayor gave instruction, let's go around the room, give us your name and 30 seconds on the services that you provide here in Lake Havasu City. And it's so impressive and so proud to be part of a community where you can go around the room and take us 45 minutes, 30 seconds at a time to talk about all the good things that our nonprofits and civic organizations are doing in the community. It was very, very impressive, and looking forward to the next meeting and what builds out of this. There's a lot of issues to address, and with everybody working together and on the same page, we could do a whole lot more than we are right now. So.
A couple of things right now you might have read in the paper. We have the Mayor's Challenge. I am following suit with other mayors across the country for, it's a water challenge, or water conservation. So if you would all like to join me in the challenge, I did mine yesterday, and it's a pledge on water conservation. If you go to mywaterchallenge.com, you fill out a quick survey, and you also have an opportunity to win lots of prizes. I didn't sign up for that part, but I encourage you to. But go to mywaterchallenge.com and look at some opportunities for water conservation that you can do in your own home and in your own lives. As we know, Lake Havasu City is a leader in water conservation. And we're a great example based on our irrigation and landscaping features, our sewer project, and our water resource team. And so we already do so many great things, but each of us can do just a little bit more. And I encourage you to join me on the My Water Pledge, and let's make Lake Havasu City shine and actually be recognized for all the water conservation efforts we already do. But we just have to go online and do our survey so it counts for us. Mojave County Department of Public Health is in the process right now of doing a community health assessment. This is important for the work that the health department does, and I encourage you to go to the website, which is, I'm going to say it out loud now, I don't expect you to write it, but you can search Mojave County Department of Public Health assessment, and web pages will come up. But for those folks that are listening at home, and we also have folks on Facebook Live, it's a bit.ly link, so it's http://bit.ly/Mojave Health 2019. Again, I know that makes no sense to any of us right here, but if you are watching at home, you can type that into your browser and do the health assessment. For all of those here, just Google it and you'll be able to pull it up. But we encourage your participation. The county is charged with health and well-being of our communities, and any additional information that we can share with them about the specific needs of Lake Havasu City will help all of us in the long run. We have a couple of things coming up on our agenda this week for our council meeting. So we have a council meeting on Tuesday, April 9th. Any of you that follow our council meetings regularly, our meeting we had last week, we had 2 agenda items, just 2. It was quick. We got in and out in a half hour. This week we have how many?
21?
Yeah, it's thick. Yeah. So it's a big one, but we have a couple that are interesting topics that we'll be discussing that I wanted to bring up to you this morning. One is a repeated use ordinance, and what this ordinance is looking at is it's looking at our public safety resources and how we can best ensure that they're available for our citizens when they need them. So when folks call 911, that we make sure that we have the people that can respond to whatever the emergency is in a rapid pace. Unfortunately, we have some citizens that use 911 a little bit more for things that aren't necessarily an emergency, and it's a strain on the resources. And we work with the folks, but it really puts our first responders in a unique position. So we are looking at introducing an ordinance that would help prevent some of those concerns. And I'll let Jess talk a little bit about some of the specifics, if you would.
Yeah, sure. So we're trying to address kind of an issue that's taking place in the community. It happens kind of off and on, and what we're trying to do is make sure that our public safety personnel and our professionals are in a position to respond when an emergency arises. And in some cases, we do have calls that come in from, a lot of times it's the same address over and over, where they're calling for non-emergency type issues, where more kind of home health care type related issues that are being called. In some cases, we did a little bit of a survey over a 13-month period. We had one location here in town that contacted our fire specifically. Over 13 months, it was 270 times for issues that were not life-threatening, that could have been helped by with a home health care professional, those types of things. So we're trying to address these issues through what staff is with Chief Davis and staff and his team have identified a solution, and we're going to identify that the ordinance going before council 9 times for non-emergency type calls per month, and that 10th call that comes in is going to be will be a charge of what it costs for the personnel in the truck to come to the to that location to address that issue. Now, if you are a resident and you're calling because there's you're a victim of a crime that generates a police report, that doesn't count. If you're calling and there's a transport or there is a medical issue that's at that location, that doesn't count. We're just trying to find a way to address these non-emergency type calls that are really putting a strain on our resources, our ability to respond to real emergencies. So that's the plan there, and we'll have some discussions at the council meeting to see if that's the direction we'll end up going. And then obviously we want to hear back from the community as well too, to see if there are any questions or concerns about that. But really, we need to set up our public safety professionals in a way that's going to allow us to respond when emergencies occur, and this will help us.
And again, we're always going to respond. So if somebody calls, we're still going to roll out and take care of what the emergency is. But we just have to make sure that the resources are available for all emergencies. And this is one opportunity that we can have that conversation and see what direction to go. Another item that will be on the agenda is the Havasu Memorial Walkway. Is starting. They've always been moving forward, but this is the walkway along the channel area that a group was championing about 5 or 6 years ago. And you'll see bricks with memorial imprinting on them throughout that area. And they've had some renewed efforts, although they've been active over those years. They're now really active. And they are going to be entering into an agreement pending council approval to be able to start that operation again. So they have the permission of the property owner. The city does not own that property, but the property owner has given them permission. But when these bricks arrive in Lake Havasu City, we've agreed to receive the shipment at our yard, and we've also agreed to install them so that they can be installed and displayed for all of the citizens that purchase these memorial bricks. There is a ceremony in early June that they've invited the Navajo Code Talkers, and that is actually going to be the next feature of the Memorial Walkway, to talk about the impact of the Code Talkers during war. So that'll be a very nice tribute, and that'll be a discussion that will happen, and again, pending council approval, may be adopted on Tuesday. Yesterday, Jess and I went to Phoenix, and we filled our day with everything, and we try to, if we have to make our way down there, we try to fill it with as many meetings as possible so that we make the most use of our time. But we had a really positive follow-up meeting with Bob Broscheid, the Arizona State Parks Director, specifically talking about a few priorities of Lake Havasu City, namely the Havasu Riviera project. That is as you head up 95 to the south, past the Water Safety Center, you'll see a stoplight that has been installed, not operable yet, but there's a stoplight in that area. There's some road paving that's going on that is going to create the road to the mainland boat launch facility, and the first Arizona State Park in over 20 years in the entire state. But we've ran into a couple of issues with that. Most namely, Governor Ducey fired the previous State Parks Director, and then things got lost in translation from there. And so as the new State Parks Director came on board, he's getting up to speed. But when Jess and I met with him, I was so impressed with how like non-pretentious his office was. Literally, the front counter person, you walk into a visitor center, so it's a visitor center that you or I would walk into anywhere. And the lady that was working the front counter, we said we had a meeting with Bob, and literally he opens the door like right behind her. He's right there. Walks in, his office is literally right there. Like, it's almost like he's in the visitor center, so accessible, and knew all of the Lake Havasu issues right away. And of course, it was an announced meeting. I mean, it's not like we just showed up on him, so he had some time to do some research. But it wasn't that. It was very authentic. It was very genuine, and it was very with an attitude of, we're going to get this done. So we're excited about those prospects. And I asked him because we're paving the road, and so I said, what's this time frame? You know, like, so I can prepare, so I can be sure to talk to the citizens of Lake Havasu City about what we're doing. And I was expecting 3 months, 6 months, and he actually said weeks was in the word. Weeks. I was like, what? Jeez. So he's actually making good progress. So as that information becomes available, we'll certainly share that with you. But we're really pleased with Governor Ducey's selection and the Senate's approval of Bob Roscheid as the new Arizona State Parks Director. He's actually a friend of Arizona. He's from Arizona. He used to work for Arizona Game and Fish, and left about 5 years ago, I believe, to lead the Colorado Game and Fish / Parks Department. In Colorado, it's a combined department, and he ran that department. And he and his wife wanted to relocate to Arizona and be closer to family. And so he understands us, and he understands what's unique about Arizona. And I'm really pleased with the progress we've made. So.
Yeah, that attitude is fantastic, and we're talking about trying to identify a few solutions we're trying to work through and communicate or open the doors for communication between state parks and the developer for the Havasu Riviera project, and give him up some updates of what we're doing on that area. But we also have a couple of different local issues that we're trying to deal with and trying to identify a way for us maybe to identify a second water source for the community on state parks land in the Windsor Park area just north of there. And that's an agreement we've been trying to go back and forth with state parks for a couple of years, just so we can access that property, identify if that's going to be the new location for a second a well collector site in the area. And so encouraging to talk to him and hear that, well, we're going to try to get this work, and if we don't, we got a plan B and a plan C and a plan D. So regardless of what we do, we're going to get something done, and it's very encouraging. And it was a fantastic meeting.
Yes, we left that meeting and we drove over to meet with folks from President Crow's office at ASU, and we talked about some strategies to increase enrollment at ASU's Havasu's campus, and how we could connect better to ensure that their enrollment group that's out there encouraging enrollment can focus on enrollment here in Lake Havasu City. We talked about specific degree programs that might increase enrollment at a fairly rapid pace. But it was a very positive meeting, connecting with the President's office, and we were able to share with the President's office the important work that ASU is doing and the importance of the campus here in Lake Havasu City to our economic development and well-being, and our strategies to recruit people to the area, recruit businesses, and also educate our workforce. And so I was very pleased with that meeting as well. I thought that was a good one. I don't know your take on it, but.
Oh, it was reflective of what you talked about, and to give the mayor a little bit of some accolades here too. It was very impressive where we meet with these folks and the different ideas that have been generated through the community that are coming out of coming from the mayor about the things that we can do to improve ASU and grow from the recruiters idea that you shared with them to try to get in front of some of the recruiters that recruit students for ASU. Let's get some ASU advocates in front of those folks so they understand what's so special and magical, as the mayor puts it, about Lake Havasu City. So really an opportunity for us to express our support and try to find out what we can do to support their efforts to grow the campus, and then provide them with some different ideas on how to do that. So very positive meeting, and it was a very nice meeting.
And from there, we left and we said, let's go drop in on our great representatives down in Phoenix. And so we have Representative Leo Biasucci in the back there, and we have Senator Borelli. Thank you for accepting us. So we just happened by, and we were greeted immediately. I literally am texting, we're probably 5 minutes away where our ASU meeting was, to the Capitol. Text Senator Borelli. He meets us in the lobby, just drops everything for us, and that's so indicative of Senator Borelli and his support for Lake Havasu City and what he does for us in Phoenix. This man doesn't get enough credit for what a rock star he is for our district and for the state of Arizona, and he drops everything for us, and so thank you, Senator Borelli. Right behind him was Representative Biasucci. Drops down the elevator and opens up, and we were able to have really positive conversations about what the good work they're doing for us. As we finish those conversations, we're all walking to, because it's Thursday and that's when the legislature lets out, and so they all try to make their way back to their home districts. Our group does the best job because they always come home and make sure they're with us on Friday morning. And so as we're walking to the parking lot, we run into Representative Cobb, who is our second representative for our district, and we were able to have some good conversation with her as well. So that was actually one of my favorite parts of the day, because it was non-planned and it was authentic, and we were able to have some good conversations. So thank you for always being open, gentlemen. We appreciate it. So. And then a couple of things that that are important. We shared with you guys last month. One of the bills that we're following at the state level is the short-term rental bill, and it's making its way. Hopefully we'll have some results for it next week, maybe as early as next week. We can potentially have that go to the governor if everything works well for a signature. Why it's important to Lake Havasu City is we're a vacation destination, obviously, so we have a lot of folks that rent out their homes on a short-term basis, which is fine. We don't have an issue with that, but when people are on vacation, they tend to stay up a little bit later. Totally cool, I do it too, but when we got to go to work the next morning and your neighbor's sleeping and needs to get to sleep to get to work or continue on with their daily life, it becomes a problem. And so in our beautiful desert climate, just a normal conversation out on the back patio at midnight can sound like you're in a nightclub to the people that are the neighbors trying to sleep next door. And so we have an ordinance here in Lake Havasu City that allows us to have some protections for the homeowners that are next door to these vacation rentals, to have an on-site, or excuse me, a 24-hour local contact that we can contact if there is a nuisance to any of our residents. And we have some trash components to that, and we have some parking components and a registration process, but all in the spirit that we can connect with folks and allow the neighborhoods to be peaceful for everybody that's in them. But that's in jeopardy if we don't get some sort of action from the state. And so we've been working hard on that issue, and we're hopeful that something will come soon. I don't know if you followed a little bit closer than I do, but.
Well, yeah, I try to follow this very closely, but there's a lot of amendments that are occurring and a lot of changes that have happened to that bill. But in the short, we're thrilled to find some type of solution to address some of the noise and trash and other concerns that we have with a vacation rental next to residents that, as you indicated, that get up in the morning and want a little bit more of a peaceful or routine type of lifestyle. So right now, what we do is, if a noise occurs or an issue occurs at that residence, our PD responds to that address and makes direct contact with the tenant, the person that's renting out that short-term rental, and which is fine, so we can address it that night. But the next weekend or the next day, you have a new tenant that comes in, and then our PD is responding and having the same conversation with a new tenant, and that's obviously repeats. So one of the things in the bill that we're excited about is it allows us to have interaction with that property owner. And if too many violations do occur, then it's the property owner that becomes accountable for the actions of their tenant, and maybe they post different signage within the home or different communications that they have. But we're trying to find more long-term solutions for these issues as opposed to just responding on a noise complaint every time that it happens. So we're excited to see something happen here.
All right, so we're getting close to this section of the program where we take your questions. So if you want to be thinking of that, but before we do that, I would like to bring up Senator Borelli and our Representative Biasucci if they want to, share any words of wisdom from the state capitol. I always appreciate them being here and being accessible to all of us. And again, we'll awkwardly stand close to them so that we can pick them up on the mic for those folks that are watching at home or on Facebook Live. So.
Yeah, well, words of wisdom, you set me up for failure.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. I know you have them, Senator.
I'm here because I lost my duck in the last storm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sure. Oh, he's here.
Good. All right, we're going to stand next to you.
Stand in the middle?
Yeah.
So, Leo, go ahead.
Real quick, Leo Biasucci on Arizona.
Come closer to us. Sorry.
Yeah.
Microphone.
Justin,
Where the microphone?
where are your microphones? See, I tell you, it's awkward.
No, I'll try to yell, but I just want to thank you all for first of all electing me last election cycle. Born and raised here in Lake Havasu City, so it's been a dream for me to always be able to give back at the state level, and I couldn't be more proud and excited and honored to be your representative. And Senator Borelli and I talked a little bit about what we want to talk to you about, and there's just a couple bills that I think are interested, you guys would be interested in. And the first one is the VLT $32 fee. I think everybody here knows about that fantastic tax, right? Now, I wasn't there last election cycle or last session when that got voted on, but Senator Borelli voted no on that bill, rightfully so. I mean, it was a tax that was not needed in our opinion. And so the good news is, I'm in the legislature now, and Senator Burley is still there, and so we have a bill that is repealing that completely, and that $32 fee would be gone. It passed the Senate, flying colors. It's now in the House, so it passed the committee, both committees already, Transportation and Appropriations. It passed through there. So next is going to go to Rules and then to the House floor for a vote. And then if it passes there, which I think it will, then it goes up to the governor to sign. Now, if for some reason he vetoes that bill, we do have other options. And Senator Burley, you can kind of go into that.
Right. Representative Campbell, who is the author of the last year's bill, that he kind of got bamboozled. He thought it was only going to be $18 maximum, but then the director for ADOT raised it to $32, which that was the biggest argument, is you don't give unelected bureaucrats the ability to raise taxes. Not to be bagging on unelected bureaucrats.
Present company included.
But, so Representative Campbell did another bill to lower it down to maximize, so it can only be no more than $18. That passed out of the House. It's over in the Senate right now, and we're just camping on that, because if the governor vetoes the full repeal, we've got something to try to at least lessen the pain on what we all had to go through. Because we all said that this is a tax on the poor, this is a tax on retirees, $32 is outrageous. But just for show of hands, how many people believe we need to secure the border? Okay, thank you. Department of Public Safety is in control of the Border Security Strike Force. That's who's handling our counter-drug operations along the border. So Department of Public Safety, they need a revenue stream. So just to kind of let you show you, it's just not about just the Highway Patrol, because DPS also does the crime labs for all the cities, all the city PDs, and all throughout the state. So there's a lot of things that Department of Public Safety does, including dispatch in the northern areas of Flagstaff and even here in Kingman. But these are the kind of things that DPS does. So we need to have a direct funding source for that. So at least we're trying to mitigate a little bit of the damage on that. But the fee is out of pocket, and a fee is still a tax. I don't care how anybody cuts it. Anyway, Leo, you're doing good.
Yeah, Dave, do you have a quick question?
I just have a question for you. Why is it that every time you try to propose a new system into our, why do you have other, like the Highway Patrol? What does that have to do with what you're saying about the $18? Am I wrong in saying that $18 or the $32 is part of the Highway Patrol as well for their entity? And then how much is the city of Havasu going to get from that $18?
Well, the highway user revenue fund, you're right, the license plate tax now, prior to all this, license plates, vehicle registration, and also your gas tax, that goes in the highway user revenue fund, HERF. Well, years ago when the county took a dump, the Governor Brewer, she swept those funds to put it towards DPS. DPS is just not more, it's a lot more than just the highway patrol. So she swept those HERF funds, would put the hurt on all of us. That was one of the reasons why I ran, to try to stop those sweeps. We did manage to stop the sweeps, but there's still some backfill that we have to have another direct funding source for. So Representative Campbell, in his good intentions, was trying to find a direct funding source for DPS, so that way her funds were not going to be swept anymore. So that way that money can come back to the cities and the counties where it belongs, and then of course that was his idea on trying to have to mitigate having a direct funding source for the Department of Public Safety. Like I said, they do just a lot more than just the Highway Patrol. But the Highway Patrol was actually getting money out of her funds originally because it's part of the formula. But Governor Brewer swept more funds for that because they needed to pay DPS.
And we have a question over there, but
Did I answer your question?
Yes, somewhat.
But to that point, real quick, and then we'll go to the question over here, is Senator Burley talked about the sweeps, and that's something I hope you guys all realize that we're always battling that. Senator Burley, myself, Representative Cobb, we call it the great state of Maricopa, right? They have all the legislators that are big city legislators. They're trying to take our HERF money. They're trying to take our water, and that is probably our constant battle more than anything. Is we're trying to protect rural, and we're fighting it all the time. And they were trying again to try to take the Huckawalla Aquatic, which is in La Paz County, which is 3 lake needs underground. They were trying to come in and take that water, and we had to keep our eye open. We're like, wait, we saw the bill. We're like, wait a minute, this is going to come take all our water again. So I hope you guys realize that, you know, a lot of times that's all we're doing is trying to play on the defense and try to stop them from trying to take our stuff, and they do it all the time, whether it's HERF, because they, I mean, and I'm not trying to blame them, but they believe that the bigger cities are more important, they have more growth, and we're sitting here saying, look, we're just as important as you are. You know, you've done your growth, we still have room to grow out here, and that's why we're in office, to protect our rural area, to protect Mojave County, La Paz County. So that's our main duty of being in the legislature.
I actually had one senator actually say, well, you people out in rural Arizona, you guys need to move closer to the city.
Oh, geez.
And I said, put the bong down for about 30 days.
So we'll take your question, sir.
Are any of those HERF funds allocated toward repairing 95 near Kiowa?
Yeah. So the question, I'm just going to repeat the question so the folks at home can hear. So are any of the HERF funds dedicated to repairing Highway 95, specifically the area at Kiowa? Yes, that is. And we just talked to Alvin Stump, who's the area engineer at our Metropolitan Planning Organization board meeting this week. And he's made a commitment to do some sort of an overlay in that area. And there is some additional road work areas that are being planned for that area to make that area more safe. As well. So
are they still considering a median there?
Yes, yeah, that's in the plan now. So they're working on it right now. I mean, it's like imminent. It's coming quick. Chuck, did you have a question?
Yeah. What about those of us who've already paid $32? Can this get vetoed?
The question is, what about the folks that have already paid the $32 vehicle license tax if it does get vetoed, and or if the new bill gets passed? So
yeah, if it gets signed. Well then, Leo and myself are going to be on the phone with the DOR or ADOT and say somebody needs to start sending some refunds or some credits or something like that. So they'll have to. That's going to create a little bit of a hiccup for them, but we don't care. We're going to make government work.
Do you guys have a couple more updates before?
Well, we're getting into more and more in the budget talks. You're going to probably hear a lot more rhetoric coming out of the Phoenix, especially the education industrial complex, the Arizona Education Association. Their next narrative is the national average on teacher pay and livable wage, which is going to be another hype and rhetoric because their statistics don't even come close to reality. So, I mean, 49% of our budget is K-12 and higher education. So, I mean, almost 50% of our budget is going to education, and small slivers are going to the things like infrastructure for roads and DPS and so on and so forth. So we're getting into those fights right now. Tax conformity, we're still having a wrestle with the governor. He vetoed a bill on the tax conformity. I'm sorry if you're still delaying filing your income tax. I know when I file my income tax, mine's going to end up being, I think we calculated that we're going to actually be out of our own pocket just to be able to do our job here. But that's okay, because if we're rattling cages and getting things accomplished, it's worth it because we get free donuts back there.
Yeah, and this is kind of older news and it's already been killed, but I think it also got to the paper about trying to increase the gas tax. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that one. But that was, something that, was brought up. It was in a bill, and fortunately I am part of the Transportation Committee in the House. I'm the vice chair. And so we were able to, pull the sponsor aside and say, look, not a good idea. After the VLT tax goes through, now you're trying to raise the gas tax. There's no doubt we need to help fix our roads. I think we all can agree on that. But that's not the way to do it. I mean, raising the gas tax is not a long-term solution. Cars are moving to electric. Our cars are getting better gas mileage. This is eventually down the road going to go away as our primary source. We need to figure out something else. And so, and how it should work in the legislature is, you talk to the sponsor, you say, hey, this is not a good idea. And he pulled it out. He said, all right, we're taking that out of the bill. We're not going to do that anymore because the people spoke. They shared with me their anger about it. We shared with him, look, this is not the way to do it. It's not good policy. So he did remove that from the bill. That is not even on the table anymore. So
they left it on natural gas and propane.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but that bill even is not moving. It's in a committee part.
Well, there is one fix on the alternative fuels. The bill that passed through last year, it's like a 500% increase on their fuel tax that's completely outrageous that has to be brought back down to reality. So there's some tweaking there, because that's going to push goods and services up, cost for us if it stays in there. So there's a lot of the waste management companies that use a lot of alternative fuel vehicles, so that they're going to hit a heavy cost, which are going to push that burden back onto us. So there's some fixes that are going through the legislature right now.
Yes.
I wanted to bring you something for you after the. I love the fact that you're doing the road project, because it is going to solve the problems that I've been watching for the last 20 years of people crossing double color lines and doing this and that out by Starbucks and Papers and such. There's a problem that I've heard talked about at the meetings like this, council meetings, et cetera, for the last 20 years. It really needs to be looked at. And Leo, I don't know if you could ram this through, but the intersection of Tacoma and Saratoga, near the golf course, where the carts cross over from the east coast from pole number 6 to 7. Ed got hit by a car the other day in the crosswalk. Number one, and I won't ask him to show you how he did it. Anyway, and then Sandy and I are driving back northbound on Tacoma from the golf club the other day. There were two golf carts getting ready to cross, so I blinked my stop, light to make sure the cars behind me knew I was going to stop for the golf carts, which is always a dangerous passageway. And I'll be darned if somebody didn't pass me on the left. And had I not been laying on the horn, because I could see it coming, I was laying on the horn. I know the golf carts would have continued out into the road and they would have been convoluted. But that's an issue that I know we can't do anything to the city inspector without some help from Phoenix. That is maybe as much of an issue for safety as any of the entire city.
Yeah, so the question, I'll repeat the question so everyone can hear. The question was about some of the traffic safety, most notably Tacoma and Saratoga, which is a city issue. HERF monies could help, but it's really a city issue. As much as I'd like to give it to you gentlemen, it's ours. And so we had a gentleman that's here with us today that was hit by a car going across the crosswalk there between the hole 6 and 7, was it? At the golf course, and what can we do about safety in that area, and then also some areas out there in Kiowa. Kiowa is going to be solved, as I said. That's right around the corner, and the area. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about the Hawk or.
Well, sure. So it's the area. It's Coma by the golf course. So Saratoga, and then up and down there. There's a few different crossings where the golfers are going back and forth on the golf carts to get through the, to go through the different holes on that course. It's a safety issue. We looked at a couple different solutions. We're working with the golf course because they have some accountability there with as far as putting up some funding for any type of improvements. The idea is that there are about 3 ideas that we've talked about in the past. The one is far too expensive, but it'd be ideal. Would be some type of a tunnel system that would go underneath the road that would allow the golf carts to get to the other side of the road without even going over the road. But that's a very expensive solution. We'll continue to have conversations with the golf course to see if that's something that we could eventually get to. But otherwise, we've also talked about tabletop speed bumps. So that would just slow down that traffic a little bit. That could help out. And another possibility we're looking at is some type of either like lighted crosswalk or maybe what they call a hawk. You see street lights that aren't necessarily for cars, but they're for pedestrians. So they're not on, and you hit the button, and then the red light comes off, and then the pedestrians or whoever is able to cross that street. We're at the council meeting on Tuesday. Their council will be considering a location of a hawk at Tacoma and Pima, not in this location, but to assist with some crossings for the students out by the school there and close to the high school. So those are some of the solutions that we're looking at, and we know it's a terrible situation, and trying to come up with the right solution that's going to have the best impact. And sorry to hear about the accident. That's terrible.
You doing all right?
Yeah. So before.
I'm doing all right, but I'd like to follow that up.
Yes.
I've been reading the newspapers. You know my background. I was in city government for 13 years.
Yeah.
And I support everything that I see going on here. I really support your Riviera project. But every time I live up on Saratoga, Mike lives up that way, a lot of people do, I'm sitting there and saying, we'll this Riviera project, if they put another 100 to 300 cars per hour between 7 and 9 in the morning, how's that road going to handle it? Because if you're not going to the golf course, if you're just going down to the hospital for an appointment or something, you can't get out of the intersection. I think when you study the Riviera project, have traffic flows, people are going to, 250 homes in there, they're going to come out, State Road 95, they're going to go out, they're going to turn left on Tacoma, and you're going to just more cars on Tacoma. And in the summertime, it's not too bad, but when the winter visitors are here and the cars are backed up, I've seen as many as 20 cars backed up in Saratoga trying to get off into Tacoma. How do you deal with that? And has anybody ever considered that that project is going to increase the traffic in Tacoma? Because it is a main thoroughfare. And I know the city's growing and it's got growing problems, but yeah, I think it should be addressed somewhere.
Just if I may, just for the people at home. The question is again specific to the Tacoma roadway and what the impact is of the Riviera project and the additional traffic that might generate, with an assumption that traffic would connect to Tacoma. So if you want to take it from there.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, and I appreciate the expertise coming from a seasoned manager. We talk about Havasu Riviera and the amount of traffic that's going to come from that project. But in addition to that, we're doing about 30 permits per month right now, new homes that are coming online. So it's Havasu Riviera. It's throughout the community. It's going to be a future project with the foothills. We're seeing a lot of construction take place in Havasu, and the challenges as we move forward from a bigger picture, which includes Tacoma, but the whole community, is we're seeing growth. We're seeing increased levels of traffic, and we still have the same amount of right-of-way on all these streets. And we're trying to identify solutions. In the past, we've been trying to identify the boulevards where it's McCulloch or Tacoma, that you're able to get on these roads in the community and get through the community rather quickly. And then having some of the side streets, we're seeing some of the stop signs, but that's kind of been our strategy so far. But we look at these intersections as traffic counts increase, and you know that process. We've looked closely in the past. We've talked about Saratoga and Tacoma, and maybe it's time for a three-way stop at that location. But it's good for safety. It's good to slow down traffic. It's good for pedestrian crossings in that area. But then it does slow down traffic flows throughout the community. So you look at one solution and the benefits tied to it, but what are some of the drawbacks tied to it? Obviously, as you know, safety trumps all, and so we need to take some close looks at these things. But one of the problems with it is the limited right-of-way we have. If we had a little bit more right-of-way, we could expand lanes and do a lot more things as far as traffic flow through the community. But
I don't feel it's just Saratoga. I feel there's a problem with Jamaica.
Yes.
Tacoma. There's a problem with Daytona and Tacoma.
Yes.
And there's a lot of them there, and as they build more out further out in the community, people live out there figure out the shortcuts. Well, it's easier to go down Saratoga than Jamaica. So here they come, and that's usually what's going to happen.
Just no roundabout.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I agree.
So before we start and open up to questions, are there any other specific questions, state, before we let? Yes, Holly.
I'd like to encourage our state representative legislators to please vote in favor of the ERA amendment. This is very important. It has to do with increasing diversity. It has to do with increasing fairness. Arizona can be the 38th state to ratify the ERA, which means it is then we are a part of 37 other states that represent the country. It's very important. They only need 38 to ratify. Please consider putting the ERA back on the national map.
So the comment was to our state legislators to support ERA, and I'll leave it at that, and you guys can talk afterwards about some specifics. Any other specific questions about the state? Yes, Chuck and June? Yes.
Yes. I just want to say kudos to the golf course for taking down all the old meanders on Tacoma. And it's us residents, it makes a huge difference. We see those golf carts lined up and they're ready to go now, so we have ample enough time to stop and let them cross. So us residents need to now pay more attention because we can see those golf courses coming.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Chuck?
Yeah, the other thing is that, people in this town are just too big a hurry. If they would lower the speed of it, when they had that center divider right there in front of the senior center.
Yes.
And they had the plastic thing, there was people that would drive down coming south from Montecoma, and they would cross over and go the wrong way to get into the exit into that place. They drive, we almost got hit head on right there one time. Just people are too much in a hurry.
Yeah, so the message to the folks watching at home is Chuck says, slow down already. Jeez. All right, is there any state issues? If these need to be state issues, then we're going to let our representatives go. Yes, sir.
Yes. I'm adamantly opposed to this $32 vehicle tax. It's not $32. In my particular case, it's $160. Because it applies to not just one vehicle, it applies to everything that is licensed. I have one vehicle that doesn't even use gasoline, but yet I have to pay the $32 tax. What should be done, and I know nobody likes to see taxes increase, but we need the gas tax. That way everybody pays equally, including all of these tourists who come in here and get a free ride. It's the only fair way to adequately take care of the situation. Thank you.
So for the folks at home, it's a question about roads and the vehicle license fee again and tax. So I'll let Senator Borelli, I believe, has some comments.
Well, to that point, so if I heard you correctly, you have an electric vehicle that.
No, I have a trailer that I towed, but I still have to pay a $32
right,
tax.
The trailer, got it, right.
A trailer
I know
is
that's
also for that fee. Yeah. So they're working afterwards. They'll be both Senator Borelli and Representative Biasucci will be around. So if you have any specific questions, but thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Thank you for taking some time with us. Thank you so much. All right, so we are getting to the part of the program where it's all your questions about the city. Before we do that, I do want to introduce Councilmember Jenny Koch as well. She is joining us. She's in the back. Thank you for being here. All right, any questions that, yes ma'am.
Talk a little bit more on what the city's goal is for affordable housing.
The question is, can we talk a little bit more about the city's goal for affordable housing? Yes, we need it and we want it. And so we're encouraging, we need to be very specific about what affordable housing is because the definition gets a little bit confused. So the way I interpret affordable housing would be workforce housing or housing in a situation in which residents of our community that have a stable employment or stable income stream have opportunity to housing and access to that. And so from a city's perspective, we are not housing developers, but certainly we can encourage folks to come to our community and develop some of those types of solutions. One solution that we see currently that has been successful is on Kiowa. There's what we might call small homes. I'm sure there's a real definition, but small homes, which are 2-bedroom, very nice homes, 1,000 square feet, going for like $109,000. That is some type of solutions that might work for us and encourage folks to be able to get into the home ownership. Additional solutions would be multifamily homes, so apartment houses, those types of solutions where they're smaller in size, so not so large, but 1 and 2 bedroom units that people can get themselves into, especially people that are in transition from one living situation to another living situation. That provides some pretty good stopgate measures, and then working with the nonprofit sector to see what solutions they have and any way we can assist them. I don't know if you have any additional comments.
Well, I mean, I guess kind of the overall comment there is that, like the mayor says, it's something that we want. We're trying to encourage. I mean, we need the housing for our nurses and teachers and public safety, police, fire, those types of positions, or the many folks in the community that provide, that work in the restaurant industry. We need housing for those folks, but the city can't do it alone. So we can't just put some type of action on the council for approval, and all of a sudden there's a bunch of affordable housing that gets constructed. So we need partners in the community, from developers and contractors and others that want to do these things. There's some different federal grants that are out there, but it takes those that are experienced in acquiring different HUD grants for the right projects in the community. So our role is to have conversations, talk about the need, and reach out and try to provide where we can some different incentives, maybe through a permitting process or otherwise that we can do to encourage these things. But we have been pleasantly surprised and happy to see some product that's coming into the community that's going to be targeted more towards that demographic that needs the affordable housing. So it's going to be an ongoing issue. Cal, you talked about earlier about this is not a Havasu issue. It's not an Arizona issue. This is a national issue. And as the economy grows, we're happy to see property values grow. And for those of us that are property owners, but that causes issues because now we have vacant lots in sale in Havasu for $80,000, $100,000. How can you build on a lot when you pay that price for it and build a product that's going to be affordable to the demographic that we're talking about? So it's an ongoing issue. We're going to continue to have those conversations and do what we can to spur action, but we need help.
Would it be something that is subsidized? That's not an avenue that the city can be involved in. As the solution is talked about at a more national level, there may be grants that are given for developers, but that would not be the city would not be a part of that process. So if a developer applies for some sort of an incentive, if one was offered through the housing department at the federal level, then potentially that might be a solution. But it's not a solution that the city can offer through that process. So.
Some of those opportunities do exist at the federal level, and there's opportunities, but it takes the right contractor, the right developer to apply and go by the many steps it takes to get to that point. But there's HUD grants and HUD funds that are out there for the right developer. So.
Yes, ma'am? Yes.
I'm Katie Morris, and I am with the Lake Havasu Pickleball Association, and I know you know about pickleball. Really impressive. We want to give you some update on how we've been raising funds.
You want to come up front if you're going to be giving an update so we can make sure everyone at home can hear? So this is the Lake Havasu Pickleball Association that wants to give an update for those of you watching at home. You got to awkwardly stand next to us.
Yeah.
So if you want a shameless plug, it has to be awkward.
Okay. So again, I'm with the Lake Havasu Pickleball Association, and we have several of our members here today. Raise your hands, people. Yeah.
Welcome.
Quite a big group. We have been working really hard to raise money through our nonprofit called Lake Havasu Courts to build more courts at Dixon Park. We currently have only one outdoor facility with 4 courts, and our association is very engaged in this community. We give lessons, we give some clinics, we were recently at Patty Fest for 3 days giving free lessons. We in fact got invited to the HR Wellness Luncheon here in May. We'll be providing pickleball for that group. And so we're working with Camp I Want to Go with the youth. We have a lot of outreach and a lot of members, our members here, who volunteer their services to provide this really fun, active, socially engaging activity for all ages. So, that being said, with over 400 people, we can't really cram ourselves onto 4 courts very easily. So we are raising the funds, and we are actually even higher than this because the money keeps coming in. We have recently received donations from our Lake Havasu City Rotary, the London Bridge Rotary, the Eagles. We're on the agenda to present to the Kiwanis. So all our local organizations and the clubs are behind this effort. And we want to be sure that we, tell you how high of a priority this is for us and for the community, because it's actually part of a destination activity that a lot of people look for when they're coming to Snowbird or coming to visit. They want to know, the first thing they ask, is there pickleball? So anyway, what we want to do is really build up the court, and there is a master plan already in place for 16. So if we can at least get the next 4, we're on the road for that.
Excellent.
And anyway, if there's any questions that you have about this fundraising event or project, it's on lakehavasupickleball.com.
Excellent.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for being here. We applaud efforts where we have folks that are interested in particular projects to help be a part of the solution, and I think that's a great example of that with your fundraising efforts. So thank you very much. Yes, Ed.
I was wondering what has happened to the money that was pledged by the builders on the island for the new bridge.
So the question is about what has happened with the money that was pledged from building on the island. So I think there needs to be some clarification on some of that. And are you up to speed on it? I'm going to be a little rough on it. The second bridge is definitely a conversation. It's needed. We understand it. It's not going to be happening tomorrow, and not even next year, and not even in 5 years. But it'll probably, based on kind of the growth out there and the patterns out there, conversations maybe 5 to 7 years with some sort of a plan further. For the actual bridge itself. But we're talking about, in today's dollars, a $25 million basic concrete structure, which I don't think is what the citizens are looking for in that respect. So we have lots of things to do on it. The city has already has the land on the island side secured. So I mean, we've had planning, so I don't want to act as if we've not planned for any of it, but as far as in the future, so we're a little rusty on some of the facts because it's not a current topic, but at one point there were impact fees that were charged to home sites or development happening on the island. Some things changed legislatively on how those monies could be spent or when they could be spent. And so we weren't able to we can't charge them anymore. They almost made it so difficult in the process that it's not feasible to do that. So some of the money went to a mobile command center. A mobile command center is what is based on the island. A lot of people talk to us about public safety, and if anything were to happen to the London Bridge and people weren't able to get over, we have a mobile command center that's stationed over there with personnel, so we can triage and take care of any needs from a public safety perspective. And so a lot of it went into the public safety sector of the money that was there.
There was, I know, and these are numbers that it's been a while since I took a look at it, but there's somewhere in the vicinity of what the city purchased land on the island side. And I know that was something that was still being paid off 10, 15 years later. I think the last debt payment was...
Still being paid.
I think we got one more
really
year,
close,
or this is the last year, one more year of that debt payment. So we were talking about, was that somewhere about a $3 to $5 million expense? I think upwards of that. Mark's shaking his head, and he's the one that's got all the know-how as far as the history on it. But we spent a lot of money on locating. We're talking about $25 million for your basic bridge. Well, we need the land on both sides of that to put the bridge down on. So Bullitt City's going through a process now of trying to get a bridge up there. That's like a $53 million effort that's up there. So, so far we got a little piece of land, and that's that I'm sure that had to exceed the dollars that came out of that effort that you might be speaking towards.
Follow-up, would we be working with ADOT to design an interchange, if you will, with the highway? 95?
Yeah. So the follow-up is, are we working with ADOT, or could we work with ADOT for an interchange, for lack of a better word, coming off of the highway onto the second bridge? Yes, that's in part of the planning. So a lot of that initial planning has been done by engineering and costs, and that's actually one of our topics with Arizona State Parks that we're making some good progress on, is second bridge discussion. So we're talking about it. We're doing all of the proper planning that we can do today, but again, this is very, very long term.
Now we need the money.
Something.
Yeah.
Yes. So thank you for the question. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
I've got some questions with the planning of the city.
Okay.
I've been coming down here since 85. We've got roads down here, Colorado here. But in Colorado, they have sidewalks everywhere. They have good infrastructure for storm sewer and that sort of thing. But my concern is on all the four-way stops. Is anybody writing grants or applying for grants to get state funding or federal funding to put in stoplights on all these ridiculous four-way stops? Causing so many accidents. And then the second poll is on the planning of residents in the city. I built a home here. We wanted to put in a sidewalk and curb and gutter. We were turned down by the city. And it's ridiculous. We were willing to pay that money and do that. So, and you might say, well, go change, get the code, or talk to planning and look at the code, but who's going to change the code?
Sure. Yeah. Great question. You're very.
The homes being built.
Yeah, you're getting really specific, which we'll absolutely answer your specific question. I'm gonna paraphrase yours in a very general conversation for the good of the public here, and then we'll talk about your specific issue. So the question was about planning and infrastructure and how that looks like in a community. This resident moved from Colorado, and they had sidewalks and stoplights and all of these things, and they had an opportunity to build a home and wanted to place curbs and sidewalks in front of their house and in an area that didn't currently have those. And what are we doing from a planning perspective? So we're going to answer your specific questions. Mark Clark and Jess can answer those afterwards. But for in the general, for those of us that have lived here a really, really long time, our storm drainage is fantastic. If you remember back in the days, even as close as the 90s, if it rained, you would have to think really hard how to get yourself home through our wash system. And over the years, we have done such a fantastic job with our monies and the funds that became available to make sure that our roads, you can traverse them without having to really think your way home and not get run away in a wash. So those are some great improvements. From a sidewalk perspective, the way that we look at it is we start from the school sites and we work out. That's where we plan sidewalks and those types of road improvements. When it comes to installation of traffic lights and traffic control, we monitor traffic counts and traffic accidents, and that's how those discussions. And again, I'm talking really high level, just to kind of answer the question at that point. And then when it comes to if you want to, in front of your own home, put sidewalks and curbs in an area that don't already have them, even if you want to pay for it, we can't allow that to happen because I'm not a scientist or a hydrologist, but the way if water is almost like a ping pong game, and if water is coming down and flowing when it storms and it hits your curb and gutter, your curb and sidewalks, it now then is going to erode somewhere else and have to go somewhere. So it has to be part of a whole plan. But the city does have solutions that you can find on our website or contact one of us for homes that do not have curbs in their neighborhood, but are sick of picking up your front yard after it storms. We have some solutions on what you could put in there to help do that. So again, I know that doesn't answer your specific question, but we'll answer, that's very general on how it goes and what our planning, from a planning perspective. I don't know if you have any additional thoughts on that, but.
No, I think it's one of the first things, I've been in Havasu here for working as the manager a little over a year now, and one of the first things that sticks out as you come to the community is, the washes, the storm drainage, and all the different improvements. We spend about a little over $2 million every year on improving the washes. We get about 3.5 inches of rain per year, so storm drainage, and from that perspective, isn't what we need to focus on. It's the large rain events and how that impacts the community with the rain coming down the mountain and towards the lake. So, and then another thing you notice right away when you come to the community is the number of four-way stop signs, as opposed to the limited number of stoplights that are out here for a community this size. But it didn't take me long to hear from the community to say, you know what, keep the four-way stop signs. We don't want the stoplights. We want to be able to pull up to that stop sign, stop, and then move and keep going. So that's what I hear from the folks out in the community, and I think that's what the council's hearing. Until we hear differently, then we'll kind of keep on that path. But there's a few unique things about Havasu, and I think that's a good thing. But we're listening to the residents, and we are a majority of folks that want things a certain way. We're going to listen to them, and as long as it's safe, we're gonna listen, go in that path. And then lastly, about your sidewalk, we can't allow one property owner to put up a sidewalk, because then, sidewalks, kids get on sidewalks and they need a path to go. There's got to be a start and kind of an end period. So that's one of the things that if we plan sidewalks, we want to plan it for the neighborhood.
Added it into all these homes that are getting newly built. Make that a mandate where they have to put in curb and gutter and a sidewalk. And if you had code written on the specifications.
Yeah, we can talk more of that offline. There's a lot to it that's getting really specific, but I'll be here. Sure, great. I'll be here afterwards. Let's talk more about that.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Oh, one behind you, and then we'll come to you next. Yes.
To address the lady's question about not being able to put curb and gutter
Thank you, Deb.
in front of her home, if you look in this town, everywhere there's a duplex, they put in curb and gutter in front of those duplexes, but all the other single-family dwellings do not put in curb and gutter. So fact that they wouldn't let her, that's a bunch of BS.
I agree.
Yeah, so again, today we're going to talk about things in general.
Another thing too, when you talk about storm drains, every time it rains, the same areas wash out. And what washes out is city property. So what does the city do? They go out there and they push the damn dirt back in. The next time it rains, down the street again. That's where you need to be spending your money on all these areas that you know wash out every time that it rains, not in the middle of these damn washes. Thank you.
Sir?
Nautical Inn has closed their golf club, and it's turned into a huge weed field. And we've all been reading about weeds and the fire that just occurred. In a month or two from now, all these weeds are going to be dry. And if somebody walks out in that golf course and pinches a cigarette, you can see the whole island, their RV park burned. And I would at least like to see them knock down their weeds and control what's going on, but they have seemed to just drop the ball completely. And I don't know what the city can do. I know it's leased land, and I don't know what the city can do, but we would appreciate somebody being proactive.
Yeah, thank you. So, yeah, the question is about a golf course on the island that has some weed growth, and we'll definitely take a look at that. Thank you for yes.
Hi, I've lived here for 46 years, and I'd like to thank the city for everything that you do. Every time somebody talks about raising taxes, we all, especially people like this gentleman over here, don't want to do that. We already heard about his $32 charge he doesn't want to pay. So curbs, sidewalks, storm drains, they cost millions. And for the homeowners to put it in themselves, all they're doing is putting a liability onto the city. Because when somebody gets hurt because of that curb or that sidewalk and nobody else has one, guess who has the deep pockets? The city. And who pays for that? Us taxpayers. We have low property taxes here compared to places like Phoenix, and especially across from the other side in California. So I would like to thank the city for using the money that they have to work with very wisely.
Thank you.
And please continue to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So for the folks at home, he just said we're great people and doing such a good job, and so thank you for that. Yes, Dave.
Mayor, don't forget April 12th is the Veterans Treatment Court. They're having their graduation. I hope that you will pass that on to the residents. People have never seen that happen. And as I volunteer for the mentor, I'd like to see that happen more with your help.
Yeah, great. So it's an invitation, an open invitation for anyone that would like to attend a graduation of the Veterans Treatment Court on Friday, April 12th, so 1 week from today at 1:30 at the Consolidated Court System out on College Drive. And Dave's one of our mentors out there, along with our mentor coordinators here as well, Joe McDermott. So if anyone would like to participate, that would be great. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Cal. Can I make a plug for you?
Yes.
Awesome. I'll come up here.
We have another plug coming, so she has to awkwardly stand close to us. That's one of the rules, so everyone at home can hear.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sandy DeMarteau, and I am the Senior Career Advisor for the Goodwill store here in town. And I wanted to let you know that all of you know Goodwill as where you're going to bring your stuff when you want to get rid of it and retire it. But what you don't know is that Goodwill just received several grants, and we are now offering at no cost computer classes to all of you if you just come and sign up for it. We have 101, which is basic computer skills. 102 is Microsoft Word and Microsoft Excel. And 103 is going to be navigation through social media. So you're more than welcome to come in, talk to our navigators, sign up, and we'll put you through those courses. You can take them as many times as you want until you get it. And at the end of it all, at the end of it all, you get a certification saying you did it. So I just wanted to let you all know that that is available to our community.
Thank you, Sandy.
Very good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other? Yes, Holly? And then Chuck, we'll come over to you next.
I recently tried to get some internet service, and I went to Frontier, got a quote for them, went to Sublink, got a quote for them, then went to Wirefree. The thing with Wirefree, they've got one tower in town, and they're limited by the height. So therefore, they have limited coverage in Lake Havasu City. I was wondering if it's possible for the city to grant some kind of permits or to allow Wire-Free to rent space from the tallest buildings in town, apartment buildings, whatever, to put a shorter tower on top of those buildings so they don't have to build from the ground up. That would expand our competitive ability to be able to have something that doesn't tie up our cable system so we can still get antenna TV and Wi-Fi for the internet. Is there some way to assist Wire-Free in being able to expand without an expensive outlay of capital?
Yeah, so the question is about infrastructure within our community and Wi-Fi connectivity and the different service providers. This resident is mentioning that there's outside the two large utilities, there's another option, and could the city help them? Certainly, they just have to call us. So there's codes in their zoning, but they have to call us, and you know that we're not in the business of telling businesses how to do business. We're in the business of making sure that we have proper planning, zoning, and that everything is done to code. But yeah, tell them to reach out. We'd love to have that conversation. We're gonna go to Chuck, and then we'll come to you next. Yes, Chuck.
Okay, I didn't hear it myself. My neighbor asked me about it on Speak Out yesterday. The guy from the trash company said that due to a couple of different reasons, one that the recyclable is not selling as much, and that us residents are not following the rules and regulations on putting dirty trash in the recycle bin. And in Bullhead, they're going to go up there and they're going to start charging people $10 if they want to recycle. Is that coming here?
Yeah, so the question's about Republic Services and recycling, and Chuck is asking about the conversation about what we can put into our recycling bin and how to do that. And in Bullhead City, they're looking at changing the way they recycle and add a $10 fee if you want to participate. I'm gonna throw that over to Jess after I just talk a little bit about recycling. Recycling is a responsibility that if we take, that it needs to be clean. They can't put in dirty trash or you know, if like a soup can can't have any food debris in it, you have to rinse that out.
Wash it, rinse it.
So just rinse your recyclables and throw it in there, and just make sure it's clean. It can all go in at once. I mean, so all cardboard and aluminum and glass can all go into the recycling container in the same bin, but it needs to all be clean. And I'll volley over to Jess about if it's coming our way and some of the more detail.
So I think the short answer is no, but I think that we need to take a look at this because it could be an issue that could grow more so in Havasu. Like we're seeing national trends. I read an article a week or two back about city of Pittsburgh, a very large city, obviously in the United States, and they're going to be doing away with the recycling efforts. Why? It's a trend that you're seeing across the country because people are throwing trash into the recycle containers, and that's you can't do that. So what happens is that all the recyclables become tainted. We have overseas countries that are no longer buying our recyclable products, and so the market has fallen out. Aluminum, glass, cardboard, all the commodity prices are falling because we're not able to responsibly recycle. So Bullhead City is talking about doing that. It's something they have to make a decision on it, where they're going to take away all the recycling containers, and if you want one back, it's going to cost you $10 to do that. And I think that's something that they're going to consider. What we're trying to focus on right now in Havasu is going to be education, information, getting the word out to the folks in the community. Please just be cognizant of the fact that recyclables go in the recyclable containers and trash goes in the trash containers. I hear stories about people that just load both of them up with trash and then put it out. Those efforts are ruining it for the rest of us. So
yeah, did your question on recyclables or
Yes.
comment? Okay, yes.
Recyclables. In the library, as you walk in on the right, they have a poster, what's recyclable and what's not. My question is, shredded paper, the library says no. Back home, we're allowed to put shredded paper in.
So yeah, the question is shredded paper something that can go in the recycling bin? And to be honest, I don't know the answer to that. I would think so, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But we'll look at it, and when I see you next month, we'll tell you.
We need to do better. I think we're going to try to identify maybe a spot on the city's website or link to Republic Services website on answering all these different questions as far as what's recyclable and what's not. So we need to do a better job. Yeah, we need to do a better job.
One thing you can do is make people, when they're
Yeah, Hap. Did you?
Yeah.
Did you have? Hap is one of the hosts of Speak Out, so he might have some additional feedback as well.
The Havasu edition airs from 11 to 12 and they co-host with Kevin Shepardson. You might have heard the Laughlin Bullhead Kingman version of Speak Out. We call it Speak Out 2.0. That's on 12 to 1 with Larry Tudorf. But by all means, we'll get the gentleman from Republic Services and our city manager, and we'll get him on the local show. You can ask all the questions you want about recycling. It was great the last time he came in.
It was.
So, Mr. Merriman,
Thank
the
you.
city manager, our local station here, we're the only ones I know who do live local, talk with all the civic leaders and all the business owners. So call if you want to get yourself on the show. If you have your business or if you just have concerns, you can always call and try and schedule yourself in. We're about 2 months out, but we always want to have a nice long list of people who want to be on the local radio station. So thanks.
Is that the 12th? Is the next?
11 to 12 is the Havasu version. I gotta go.
Yeah.
And the 12 to 1 is the Laughlin Bullhead version.
It's every day, right?
Monday through Friday. Thursday's usually Brian Springberg with financial advice. He calls that sound advice. He wasn't on yesterday, so I got to fill in. So I'm filling the coffers.
Yeah. Very nice. All right. So for those at home, that was a discussion about a little bit about more recycling and to get on Speak Out. B, did you have a question?
I do. I think Republic says, when in doubt, throw it out.
They do.
Oh.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
All right. So B tells us that when
Yeah.
in doubt on recycling, throw it out. So
Don't take the
Bob?
recyclables, right? Yeah.
Mayor, an observation. I've
Yes.
been coming to Havasu since 1974. I got to retire finally 2 years ago and moved here full time. One of the things about Havasu that I love, we live up the hill on the south side. Used to have this beautiful view of the mountains and the lake. So my neighbor wanted privacy, and the wall's now 10 foot on his side, so I can't see as much as I used to. And I understand that. We're not by the golf course or anything like that. But my pet peeve is when I go to ASU. I'm from New York City originally as a kid. And I lived in a tenement buildings in New York City, so if you wanted the sun in the summertime, you went on the roof. Because if you were on the street at 12 o'clock, you'd have sun. Well, we have a new building called The View, which takes a lot of our view away. My question, do we really need 4- and 5-story buildings in Havasu?
Yeah, so the question is about height and specifically about some of the building going on Swanson. That area is properly zoned for 4 stories. And so in the medical district, which that's what that zoning is, so we'll see opportunity. The 2 vacant lots that are up from, or that would be east of where the Views building is at now, could potentially have that height as well. There's a couple of lots that are down by the hospital that are vacant that could have some of that height as well. And then down the McCulloch corridor could have some additional height. But the intent is to have low rises, and we will start to see a little bit more of these sites develop as we talk about the workforce housing that we talked about earlier. And as the lots dwindle, density will have to increase in some of the areas that it's appropriate and that's already designed in the zoning. Our general plan was updated and ratified by the voters in 2016. The general plan prior to that had the same zoning designation, so nothing changed. And that's a really long citizen-driven process that happens. But point well taken, and it's always been a sensitive issue in Lake Havasu. Will continue to be a sensitive issue, and we'll always continue to monitor to make sure that we can be as open and as free as possible. And I missed you last time. I'm
That's
sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
That's okay. I just want some information, one about Body Beach. I don't care about the fire.
Okay.
But according to the paper, where the state owns the property and we're leasing it back, do we pay for that? I mean, what are we doing?
Yes, so, this question's a couple of specifics about some of the Body Beach area and about its state land ownership. The state land does own that area. BLM has some of that land. And then the city has a lease. I'll let you talk a little bit. So there's a small section that's ours on lease.
It'd be a lot easier to discuss it with a map and showing lines and property lines, but essentially the city leases about, I think it's about 17 acres over off the right directly south of the skate park, where you got the parking lot for the skate park and the parking lot across that area right there, and then a small piece of Body Beach. We lease that from state land so we can have those improvements that assist with the efforts at the Rotary Park.
So
But
the property just basically adjacent to this, is that my city or?
Oh, well, this
Yeah.
land here is the city's, and then over kind of near the skate park is where our lease is with the state, so that we can, the intent is to eventually expand Rotary Park or park offerings if that would be in the future, again, for future planning. So I hate to do this to you guys, but we are out of time, but as we always like to finish, I'll be here afterwards to answer any questions we didn't get to already. But I always like to end with some fast facts about the cities, the kind of neat little tidbits that we have. Also, if you would like to take a tour of the facility, Mike and his team are available to tour you around the facility. But a couple of things from an engineering perspective. Did you know that your property line does not go all the way to the street? Your property typically stops right behind your water meter on the house side, and the water meter is located in your public right-of-way. The space between your water meter and the pavement is right-of-way that could be as little as 5 feet to as much as 20 feet, depending on the right-of-way and pavement of that particular lot. Kind of interesting. We average about 51 building inspections per day. This means there are 51 addresses, but each address could have multiple inspections for different building permits that are happening at that. An example of this would be a garage addition, a new pool, and a retaining wall, all happening concurrently. I've shared this with you before, but it always amazes me each time I read it. There are approximately 45,000 takeoff and landings at our airport each year. 45,000, just a huge number to show the impact of what that airport does, even without commercial air service. The city was incorporated after the voters approved the dissolution of the irrigation and drainage district and the sanitary district. So it's sometimes referred to as the IDD, but the irrigation and drainage district, which were used by McCulloch to simulate the functions of a city. The IDD was created based on a sod farm on the island. So we were able to create this irrigation and drainage district because McCulloch put a sod farm out on the island kind of as a workaround, if you will, to be able to do this kind of an interesting early Wild Wild West story of Lake Havasu City. The IDD continues today, but will dissolve when all the debt that the IDD has is paid off, which will be soon. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, is we're going to be talking about the IDD in future conversations. The first fire station, do you know where it was in Lake Havasu City? The very first fire station? What'd you say?
Smoke Tree?
Yeah, Smoke Tree and McCulloch was the first fire station. The first building used as a fire station was a hangar at the airport on the island, back when the airport was on the island. When the department was formed in 1966, but the first structure built as a station was adjacent to the Fire Chief Baxter Harris's Chevron station that was on the corner of McCulloch and Smoke Tree in 1969. The fire station and Chevron station, of course, are gone now, and that's a vacant lot that's there. And then of the existing fire station, Station 5 on Lake Havasu Avenue by Sundance and across kind of kitty corner from Terrible Herbst is the oldest one now. And then we'll end with a little fun tidbit is why do firefighters wear red suspenders?
Hold up their pants.
Yeah, to hold up their pants. Easy. Our next, our next coffee with the mayor is on Friday, May 3rd. Jess and I were out of town yesterday, and so I don't know the location, but follow us somewhere, and we want you to be there. I'm just sorry that we don't know where it's at, but it's May 3rd, 8:30 in the morning. It'll be at another city facility. We encourage everyone to attend, and thank you so much for the opportunity to serve you as mayor, and we'll be here afterwards to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.